right, folks, welcome back to another episode of the BoomBastiCAST. That's right. You got me, Macho. You have the great and powerful, more handsome than ever could imagine could even fucking exist in this world. The great Alexander Hawk. How you doing over,
Oh,
Alexander?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
You doing
Trying to trying to
fantastic?
trying to be more handsome than you is a full-time job.
Well, I appreciate that. You're a good man for saying so, and I agree. I agree. Are you going or coming from a film? What film are you working on right now?
Well, right now I'm doing Bikers versus Werewolves, another Mahal Empire project down in sunny Las Vegas. Going to be shooting there. I'm playing Deputy Wilson, one of two deputies that will
Yeah,
be backup for the one and only Jake Busey as the sheriff.
Jake Busey's a good man. Billy Coyne has a good Jake Busey story, where they got him at Rock and Shock. They stuck him with a bill. We'll get Billy on one of these days to talk about it. Jake Busey, uh, what's that I hear? I hear future BoomBastiCAST guest. Yes, that's what I like to hear.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
good, very good.
yeah. Working on that. Working on that.
I met Gary Busey. I've met Gary before. Did I ever tell you that?
Yeah, yeah. I think. Yeah. I mean, I also met Gary at a convention. Also,
It's cooler when I meet him, though.
well, of course, because
Gary, I said, "Hey, Gary," and you're supposed to say, Mr. Busey. He was in a weird mood that day, but I still love him.
uh,
Um, but yeah, both of those folks are good folks for shizzle for sure. So yeah, as we go, if you read the headline of this episode, of course you should know that we have the great Susan Lanier with us this evening. And that's really it. You might know her from things like The Hills Have Eyes, Wes Craven's second feature-length film that is a complete masterpiece in psychological horror, you know. You might have seen some, television shows like, I don't know, maybe you've seen like Happy Days or something like that. I don't know, maybe you've seen
oh, welcome back, Kotter.
Welcome Back, Kotter or something like that. Maybe you want to hear a story about how she was almost the Chrissy Snow that you guys know on Three's Company. You know what I mean? She did her right time with that. Janice DeWitt doing it big with her. Rest in peace, Donna Summers. She just passed away. Not even, 2 months ago?
Oh, I think it was a little longer ago, but yeah, I mean, not too long ago. Last year, yeah, she passed.
During the shooting of The Wicked Hollows, I believe she passed, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
a few people passed during the shooting. It was very unfortunate. We call that the demaggot curse. The demaggot curse is when you make a film and people from your childhood that you love leave the earth. They shed their coil and depart from us. That's the demaggot, unfortunate event. But we got a great guest with us and a great episode for y'all out there today. Alexander Hawk, what do you got to say about our guest before we pop on in?
Oh, just that. Uh, she's a great person. I loved. Hills Have Eyes. We've already talked about, but I mean, you also look at Three's Company. She was a radio singer in Johnny Dangerously.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, and she was in No Solicitors. She was in Days of Our Lives for like two episodes.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
I mean,
Big
she's
fan.
been all over the place, and she also sings, and she did a music video which she directed, which was called "Watch What You Ask For," which is really good. She's in there with Michael Berryman. Definitely go to YouTube, check it out, and a great music video, a lot of fun. And I just can't wait to talk to her and to find out more about her.
You know, widow of Delaney Bramlett. We're not gonna get too deep into that, but I just wanted to bring it up real quick. We talk about it in the episode a little bit, but I definitely want people to go peep that name, Delaney Bramlett. If you Google whatever names that sound like that, it'll pop up. Musician extraordinaire. Done a whole bunch of really great music. You know, I know that we only talk about it for a little bit in this segment, but I do encourage people to go out there and kind of listen to her music as well as Delaney's music, because it's really both on both accounts. It's really good stuff.
Very good, very good.
Yeah. So for all our music heads out there, so I know we do have some certain folks out there that get down with music heavy. Maybe not Alexander the Hawk, but there's people out there that get down heavily with music, if you will. Which, you know, we're gonna get into some stuff, the music and the acting and photography, teaching. You know what I mean? There's so many cool things, and we've talked about it on the show before. It's like creatives are creative. You know what I mean? It's kind of foolish to put them in a box and say, well, you're a creative. You can only be creative with music, or you can only be creative with film. You know, sometimes, you know, that might be the case, but a lot of the times I think film, music, poetry, art, whatever it may be, it's all comes from the same creative outlet or same creative light, if you will. But it's just the outlets in different places, you know, like, well, you know, they lean more towards this thing or something like that, deep within their brainal stem, you know what I mean, if you will. But yeah, it's a beautiful thing, you know, and we got a lot of folks who've been on the BoomBastiCAST, and you know, one of the biggest things that we've ever got for advice at all, you know, have hobbies. Hobbies are very important,
Yeah.
and creative things are very important. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
creatives have to create, whether it's, acting, painting, writing. I mean, the thing is that um, a creative has to keep on, creating stuff, just and I don't think we've found anyone that's only had one outlet. I think everyone we've had on the show has had many different outlets for their creativity.
They might not, yeah, they might not be known for every outlet, but they definitely practice multiple
Oh,
outlets for sure. It's like a power strip with the
yeah.
outlets, you know what I mean? But that's just because there's so much good energy that needs to go out. You need the power strip, baby. You know what I mean? Um, but that's how it is, you know, therapeutic, man. Being creative is therapeutic, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna go and say that it's gonna stop depression, but it could help you out. You know, you're feeling down in the dumpsters, you're like complete fucking gabaggio, and you fucking like I'm gonna get emotional. And what you do is you go and create something from nothing, and then you go, oh, you know what? I feel a little bit better. I feel a little bit better because there was nothing here. All that was here was horridness, unfortunate sadness. But you know what? I made this cool thing that now that's here too, and maybe it'll stifle out some of the bad stuff. You know what I mean? But one thing that is not bad is our interview that we're about to lay down with the great, the wonderful, the beautiful, the super multi talented Susan Lanier. Susan, welcome to the BoomBastiCAST.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing
It's
very
good to be.
yeah, it's an honor to have you. You know,
Thank-
we're very thankful to have you on the show.
Thanks.
Uh,
Yeah,
like-
having a big storm outside, so I'm here, safe inside, doing a interview with you guys. So it's kind of cool.
we appreciate it. If the wall starts to shake and you can then start to see the outdoors, feel free to leave the show. It's not important as your life is. Just go,
Yeah.
go, run.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, we usually like to start this off at the beginning, like I said before. So, it the acting thing. I know you did some theater, yeah, in high school, I assume, out in Dallas, Texas, before heading out to the city of dreams. Yeah,
Yeah, lots of theater. I got stung by the bug when I was 13. And so I did a show and I was 13 years old and I got the bug and I've never looked back and I've been doing it ever since. So that was a long time ago.
oh yeah. Alex did a little theater, but Alex is, I'm more, I do like the writing than directing, and Alex does a lot of acting and producing. And that's our combination when it comes together. I know my friend over here, Alex, did a lot of theater back in his day. That's more of his.
Yeah, I mean, I actually wish I could do a lot more theater, but with my scheduled film is a lot easier. I love both, but I just love acting. So whether it's in front of a camera or in front of a live audience, doesn't make a big difference to me, honestly. As long as I'm acting, that's what I like.
Exactly. Exactly. You have the bug too.
Uh, yeah, unfortunately, I can't seem to get rid of the bug. That's why I'm still here.
So
Also, I think when you're doing theater, it's also important where you live and that you live in a community or close enough to the community that you can go to rehearsal every night. And there's a live actual theaters, whether they're union or non-union, that are doing productions, so if you're near a theater town, you're at a big advantage.
Yeah, where I'm at in like Andover, Mass, I mean, there's a bunch of different small community theaters, nearby. And I actually, when I got out of college, that was the first thing I started doing. Um, I have to admit that, my theater classes was the, community theater programs. And that's where, I learned and honed my craft until I started doing more theater, more film and more, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's everything is getting more condensed because of the Zoom and the accessibility to everybody being able to work together in different cities. During COVID, I worked with the Actor Studio doing scenes on Zoom in New York, and I was in LA. And I was actually the only LA actor working with the Actor Studio in New York, and we were all doing scenes via Zoom, and it was wonderful. It was very exciting, and you got just as nervous and had to do just as hard of work as if we were really acting on a live stage at the Actor Studio. So it's cool.
yeah, Zoom
Yeah.
really earned its wings during the pandemic for sure. It
Mhm.
was like one day they're gonna make a movie about Zoom. You know how they have like the social network with like the Facebook movie. David Fincher will do the Zoom movie one day about how Zoom was just a small little thing, and then COVID happened, and then biggest thing in the world. It was like needed to communicate with people.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
I
very
love
cool.
it. As if you don't feel like getting out, or I live outside of Los Angeles near the Santa Monica Mountains and Topanga Canyon, and you don't always feel like driving to see somebody, but you can get on the Zoom, and I can have my glass of wine and they can have theirs, and we can sit and have dinner and chat, and I don't know, it's kind of cool. I'd rather meet in person, but
Yeah,
second best.
and you're still doing that because I know you're teaching now, right?
Yeah, actually, during COVID, this
Yeah.
this wonderful little actress named Jennifer Quellen called me from San Francisco, and she'd heard about me through her aunt, and she called and she said, "Would you, during COVID, by any chance, give me acting classes on Zoom?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I'll try that." I had taught for years in Los Angeles in the 80s and the 90s, and then I quit to do music, and I was married, and whatever. So I said, "Sure, let me do that. We'll try it one-on-one." And in about 2 months, and she was progressing like crazy. And in 2 months, I said, "Would you want more people in?" And this other guy had asked me about it, and she said, "Yeah, that would be fun to have somebody to work scenes with." So before you know it, I had 10 or 11 students teaching on Zoom, and I'm still doing it. And I have students in San Antonio, Kansas City, New York City, Las Vegas, LA, San Francisco, everywhere. So it's great. If anybody's interested, DM me, and I can give you more information about that. But it's film technique. It's just television and film technique. And not a lot of people teach acting. Not a lot of people teach actual film technique.
Yeah.
I have a question. A lot. I know it's a lot now because of Zoom and all of that. That a lot of auditions are now just online. I was wondering your feeling on. I mean, personally, I think it's great to a point where you can be anywhere and then send in your stuff, but I kind of miss the actually, coming in and like the one-on-one and all that. How do you feel about that transition of the auditioning process?
Well, it's a great question, by the way, and it's a double-edged sword. I always loved meeting with the people in the room. There's an energy, and you feel a chemistry, and you can feel right away if they like you, they don't like you. A lot of times you can feel it, and I've been cast before by just going into the audition, did the audition, the chemistry was there. A pilot I can think of called Over and Out I did with Michelle Lee and Ken Berry, and they cast me right there. It was like the chemistry was so good that they cast me right there. Had I been on a Zoom, we couldn't have felt that as much. So I do miss it. However, the upside is on these self-tapes that we do and send in, they can see more people for the different roles. They have more time because even if they look at you for 20 seconds, now you've spent 2 days working on it, and they'll go, nope, she's too old, she's too young, she's too fat, she's too thin, she's too this, she's too that. And they can see a lot of people that way. The other thing is that you can bring into them your very best take that you can possibly do, so that if you're in the room, often you're nervous, you get sweat, you're and all your competitions out in the other side of the room, and they can hear you sometimes and you can hear them. And so being at home in your own quiet space and being able to just get into character and to give them your very best shot, I think works to your advantage, because you're not going to make a mistake, and you're going to be more relaxed and be able to get into the character rather than, oh my God, they're watching me and they're not looking at me, or trying to read the room. And, though you're not supposed to do that, it's human nature,
Yeah.
can't help but do that. Commercials are still a lot in the room. So we do have to travel to do commercial auditions. But for TV and film, it's all self-tape. Now, if actors think they're at a disadvantage about that, I have a couple of director producer friends, very successful, and I won't say who they are, but they did my one friend did a huge pitch last week with his writing partner, and the pitches are all on Zoom too. And the networks like Netflix that might invest millions of dollars in this project, the whole thing is on Zoom. There are no in-person meetings in Hollywood right this minute for most things. And people are still coming down with COVID and different things, and not as much. So people feel safer, and they're getting used to this brand new world of being able to talk to people this way. So I just try to look at the good part of it, because I don't make the rules, and I just have to go with the flow of what the business dictates. It is always going to change. It's always going to evolve. And after Zoom, there'll be something else that is bigger. I don't know, with the AI things. I don't know. And God knows what will be next.
Before we know it, everything's going to be AI generated. That's one thing that kind of makes me feel a little worried about where things are going.
Yeah, me too. But I'm kind of glad I'm the age I am, because when it gets out of control, I might be out of here. I don't know.
Well,
Yeah, I think that for younger people, it's going to be really a significant, I don't know, something.
Yeah.
I'm an old hippie, and I went to New York, and I'm an artist, and I like organic and real, and I don't like everything to be so, you know, uh, superficial, and so that's the beauty of live theater, is that you can't AI live theater.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah, I mean, it's something about going with theater, which one of the things that I miss, and I know that a lot of people love about doing theater, is the instant reaction to, if you do a funny line and it works, you find out right there, and when you're doing film, you just hope that they pick the best take, because in the end, a lot of times you're at the mercy of the editor, whoever decides which take is the best, and sometimes they don't always pick your best take.
They sure don't.
Yeah.
No, they sure don't. And you are, but I love film work from the standpoint that you go, you get into character, you learn your lines, you do your job, and then you go home. You might be on the set for a week, month, whatever your shoot is, but you're done with it. Theater's much more time consuming, and I don't know. I prefer theater too. I mean, I love both of them. I don't know what I'm saying.
You said when you left Dallas, did you go to New York or did you go to California? You went to New York.
Mhm. I had no desire to be a TV or a film actor.
Yeah.
That didn't seem like a possibility for some girl growing up in the suburbs of Dallas, Texas. And I loved musical theater, and I loved to sing, and I loved to dance, and I was pretty good at all three of them. I don't know in which order, but I had studied all three of them, particularly dance. And so when I went to New York to do musical theater, or to do any kind of theater, and I was very young. I was 17 when I got there. I went back to Dallas my parents had a fit. I went back to Dallas for a short stint, then back to New York. And I knew exactly what I wanted to do at 17 years old. I mean, at 13, but I went to New York to act right out of high school.
Yeah. I know the first big thing you got was Happy Days.
In LA.
Yeah.
But in New York,
Yeah.
I don't talk about that film career too much because it wasn't very significant. But there was a whole slew of these underground independent films, and I'm not talking about porn.
Yeah.
I'm talking about I Am Curious Yellow, Putney Swope, Robert Downey Senior
Yeah.
produced that. And I don't know if I made it I was in that, and I don't know if I made it in the film or not. I was so young. I was just a baby, and I don't know that I would recognize myself, but there were all these movies to do that were really, black and white, and, dark or not dark, but, not a lot of comedies that I got to audition for at that point. Well, Putney Swope was a comedy, but dark comedy. But it was a very
underground films.
Very underground, and it was a very exciting time. It was such an exciting time.
Yeah.
That was the late 60s, early 70s, and it was just, oh my God, I could go on and on and on with stories that were crazy. I was in a theater company called Nowhere East Theater, and that was in the East Village, and we had some wonderful actors in that, and it was great.
Yeah, I'm always interested with those like the underground films. So like I said, me and Hawk do the films, and it's like our films are like underground type films, you know what I mean? So
You
like
need
it's
a
all,
shovel to find us.
and every you know every era has them. Like it's funny, we tell people it's like, well, if people ever look back and they say, well, what was the independent Boston film scene like in 2010 to 2020, they would see our names, which is nice, you know what I mean?
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So there's
Yeah.
all I'm always very interested in like the underground films for sure, for sure.
But I still like them. I
Oh,
still like doing obscure things that maybe nobody will even see.
yeah.
It's fun. It's a much more relaxed um, environment, atmosphere for the actors. You can play and improvise and bring your own thing to it. And
Yeah.
there's not a network screaming down your neck. And I've worked with plenty of networks, all of them actually. And it's a different atmosphere. You can really be creative and not worry about all the rules.
Yeah.
You can really take chances. I mean, unfortunately, with the networks and the big production companies, they're all looking about trying to get the biggest market. Not upset anybody and all that, and not take any chances. I mean, that's why, unfortunately, I think there's a lot of reboots, sequels, and all that because I mean they like playing it safe. But when you're doing the underground, the whole point is to do something different, to make an impact, to say something that the big guys aren't saying. Which I mean, that's what we try to do.
I think that's fabulous, and you never know when you're going to get one that hits, or you get a big hit and then, you're Quentin Tarantino.
Wes Craven, yeah.
Yeah.
I dig it for sure. So like it must have been a great film. You're some of the big, Happy Days, like I just brought up, Welcome Back, Kotter, you know what I mean? You're alongside John Travolta doing it big, how was that for an experience? You must have been to finally break in like that, when you're on television too, which is like in all the houses across, America. It's a beautiful thing. Like it's
Yeah, it was fun. It was fabulous. My first show in Hollywood was Happy Days. And I got cast because the second day I got here, I called my high school acting partner, William S. Bigley, who was one of the writers and producers on the show. I said, "Hey, Bill, it's Susie. I'm in Hollywood. And how's it going?" And he said, "You want to come to Paramount for lunch tomorrow?" And I went, "Yeah." And so he took me, I went to Paramount and I was going, "Oh my God, it's Paramount." And he took me to the commissary and we had lunch, and then he took me onto the set, and Henry Winkler came up, and I was cute little young thing then, skinny. And Henry came up and he said, whoa, make her my girlfriend or something, and they wrote me in that week. And it wasn't a huge part, but it was enough to get my feet wet on the set. Most of my scenes were with I can't remember. Anyway, well, with all of them actually, but not with Henry as much. But it ended up that Henry asked me out, and he was my first date in LA. We went out twice and ended up really good friends. I saw him recently, and they did a Happy Days reunion convention here in Hollywood, and he is the nicest guy in LA. I have to just say, of all the people I've ever met through all the years, Henry Winkler is the nicest man in this town. And so so that was wonderful. And then my second job was Barnaby Jones. And that was before I started doing a whole lot of sitcoms. And the Barnaby Jones is where I learned, I had to learn very fast because it was a drama. I had to learn very fast film technique. I'd done a lot of dinner theater doing comedy. So I had my comedy chops pretty tight when I did Happy Days. But my drama chops, I mean, this was serious acting with people like Pat Hingle and Buddy Ebsen. And Pat Hingle could tell that I was theater trained, and he said, I had to get out of a car, slam the door, run up to Buddy Ebsen and hit my mark.
Yeah.
And, you know, they had a little tape down there, but I kept going over the mark. And Pat Hingle said, and he had won like all kinds of acting awards. So, you know, I mean, he was in Splendor in the Grass and stuff, you know, and he said, come to my trailer. I want to talk to you. And I thought, uh-oh, he was he was so nice. And he said, you have to ask for a sandbag, and then your toes hit the sandbag, and then you don't look down, you know, and just tricks. And he taught me so much that week. I had a whole week of work with him, and he taught me so much. He was such a veteran. And we were friends till he died too. And so he was just the greatest. And he really helped me, you know, because I could act, but I didn't know. There's so many little technical things I think that people just aren't aware of when it's film acting, as opposed to just working on stage. It's so, you know, it's so much smaller and detailed.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you don't really think you bring in television acting into it as well, and it's just like the three of those are just so different. The technique of performing them, you know.
Yeah, they're all three different. I mean, sitcom is different than, you know, episodic. Episodic is different than a real film. You know, there's just a there's slight differences, but I think it's good to take a class and learn the differences of what those are.
Yeah. We've talked on the show before about, like, you know, sometimes you see like a theater actor and like a screen actor clash a little bit of like which one's better, so to speak. And it's like with with film and television, it's kind of like, it's interesting that art form is kind of forever on celluloid or forever like on a DVD somewhere, where in like theater acting, it's all in like the audience's like mind, you know, how good the performance was. It's like an interesting, you know, how it's a little more special almost, you know, you're sending this small group of people off with the same like experience, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I like the fact that you know, people can videotape theater now. It's not the same as being in the room and watching it, but at least it's captured in some way, so that if you can't go to the show, you can see it later or something. I mean, I don't know how many are doing that, but I think a lot of them. I think there's actually a site where you can pay money and watch real theater on Broadway, maybe. I'm not sure which one it is.
I know there's a movie out right now or about to come out that it's pretty much theater. It's all it's a film that you watch, but the whole thing is, it's like a camera set up and they just run through the whole thing, and it's just, you know, it's like you were there but not quite there.
Do you know which one it is?
I don't know. I seen a trailer for it, and it was very interesting, you know. It was, you know, I'm surprised they haven't really done it yet, you know what I mean?
I'm surprised they haven't done more of it as well.
Yeah.
I think it will happen. I think that people are real comfortable in their homes now, and I don't think that's such a great thing, but you know, I don't know. It's it just the Broadway has not reconstructed these old theater houses. Not many of them. A Circle in the Square is roomy. You don't feel like you're going to sit on the other person's lap. But some of the older Broadway shows, I saw Hadestown a couple of years ago, right before COVID, and people were smaller back then. When they built the theaters, just a human being. I'm not even talking about being overweight. I'm talking about human beings were tinier then. Yeah. And the seats are so little. And I'm not a tall person. I'm pretty short. And my knee was banging into the seat in front of me. And I went, how does somebody tall actually sit here for 2 hours or 2.5 hours and watch a production? You know, it's very uncomfortable. And until they come up with something else, and then I lost friends to COVID who went to the theater and caught it there and then didn't make it. And so it, you know, I wouldn't go to the theater without a mask now, of course, but that is a problem. It's also carrying over to nightclubs. You know, everybody's just going into nightclubs now, like, woo. My son is a guitar player, and I have a band that I play sometimes, but not too much right now. But anyway, my bass player had another gig with somebody else a few weeks ago, and the musicians are all coming down with stuff because there's so many people in the room and they can't wear masks. So, you know, they're singing. So I just talked to my son a few minutes ago, and he's got a terrible cold. He had gigs all month. So, you know.
And the life of the musicians, go, 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 go. So like, you know, you need to catch your rest. You need to figure out somewhere to catch your rest in there. You know?
Yeah. I mean, if the germs keep multiplying, you know, even everything's going to have to be done zoomed in or whatever. Some it'll be maybe another format, but you know, whatever. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah. Well, we could see theater return to the theaters. You know.
Well, it has. I mean, Broadway's back up, you know, and the theater here is in LA is back up. Not as much as it was. Some of the bigger theaters have shut down permanently, which is sad. I do think you're right. I think that theater will have its comeback.
Yeah.
I think people do need to see people in live.
I think it's possible for it to go back to like a Cineplex. Like that movie they got coming, you know what I mean? I know that like concert films are big again. Taylor Swift just broke records with her film.
Right.
You know what I mean? So and the theater is kind of in a weird movie theaters are in a weird place right now. Anyways, they're trying to like pull any trick out of their hat that they can. So like it'd be interesting to see if there was more of them, you know.
Well, I think what we should do is it'd be cool to start doing more probably outside theater. I think that should probably be what some people. I mean, of course, you have to worry about the weather and all that. I mean, there's no way of doing anything without some kind of hurdles you have to jump over. But especially if as a way of trying to keep the live theater experience going, because I think that one of the biggest problems with COVID was it kind of made us all kind of complacent with not dealing with people, not having one-on-one interactions, and I think we really need to bring that back. So probably one of the things is maybe start trying to make some more like outside amphitheaters. Maybe that's the way to go.
We have the Hollywood Bowl here, and it had an amazing season. And I think almost every show was sold out. So, it's not like you're right. Actually, the amphitheater setup is good, and I think if you do live theater, they don't do theater at the Hollywood Bowl; they do concerts there. But I think that if more people would make amphitheaters available and productions available, it'd be a great thing. We have these little 99 seat houses here in LA, and it's fun. It's so much fun to go. And then, but it's a cramped little box, so you can't help but think about it. I would like to be doing that, going and watching more and actually acting in these more. There's never been a time where I think it's where one can actually, if you're talented, get your stuff out, and be seen and get discovered. Like if you to write your own thing and put it up, even if you do just do it, film it with an iPhone or whatever. You know, a lot of people are getting discovered just by TikTok, you know. So
Yeah.
and there's some amazing people out there. There is some amazing talent out there that one would never know about if it wasn't for the new technology.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried TikTok. I haven't had a viral video yet, but I'm working on it.
I need to follow you because I don't have any up. I think I have like 2 up or something like that. I've got to start working on my TikTok too. I understand. Somebody said, "You're not doing TikTok?" I said, "Nah, I guess Facebook, Instagram, that's kind of enough."
Yeah.
And they said, "Well, you're really missing out," because I do go into the studio and cut music from time to time. And I did release a Christmas song this year called Merry Christmas on My Own. And it got a good amount of airplay. And so I was very excited about that. And somebody said, "Didn't you put it on TikTok?" And I went, "No, I didn't." And sort of missed the window, but it'll be there next year.
Yeah, yeah. On the way to Woodstock.
Yeah.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite, my personal favorite jam.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, that's kind of a true story. I write all the music and all the words to most of my songs. I collaborate occasionally, but I just, music is a wonderful outlet for me. And like, say I really want this part and I don't get it. And that happens a lot, by the way, to everybody who's an actor. And I'll just go, damn, well, I'm just going to write a song. And then, it sort of feeds my soul and makes me feel like everything's all right.
Yeah.
It happens the way it's supposed to happen. Music, you have more control over than booking a film. You can just go get in a club or do it online or whatever and put it out there. And I feel more in control of the destiny of whatever project I'm trying to work on.
Yeah. When did you start creating music? At what point in your life?
I remember writing a song in the shower. I don't know why. I remember it's in my memory when I was in the 6th grade.
Yeah.
I just remember taking a shower and singing. I had a crush on this guy named Mike, and it was really stupid. I like Mike, that kind of thing. And I went, hey, I just did a rhyme with some music. That was like really weird. And I guess I've been writing little ditties along the way, and then it became a real thing in the 80s. I ended up meeting and the love of my life, Delaney Bramlett, in 1977. And he was a very successful songwriter, and I was acting at the time. He met me through Seeing the Hills Have Eyes at a drive-in. And so the next night after he had seen me at the theater, I went to a nightclub in Hollywood and met him. And we hooked up, and no one needed to go to school to learn how to write a song with this genius blues songwriter. He wrote most of Eric Clapton's songs on Eric's first album. He produced that album, and he wrote Superstar and Never Ending Song of Love. And so he would go, "You have a word for," I'm trying to say, and I go, "Yeah, well, say it this way." You go, "Yeah, that's good. Okay." And so after a while, I was doing my own, and he helped me, and we would write all the time. So it just became something I love to do.
Yeah, well, it's funny you bring up Superstar because it has a crossover where Alexander Aja, who did the reboot of The Hills Have Eyes, and his first big, really critical, successful film was a film called High Tension. And in the trailer for High Tension, it's the Sonic Youth cover of Superstar, which, that song, a great song. All of the cover, there's been a few covers of it, I believe, and I love that song. It's such a great song.
Thank you. I didn't write it. I didn't know him then.
But kudos.
I love that song too. And it's also in Juno.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
That was the Sonic Youth version was in Juno.
yeah.
Yeah. So I love that version of it. I love Sonic Youth's version of it too.
Yeah, I keep trying to find it. I don't know what album it's on. You know, it's lurking there somewhere. It might be a single. I don't know.
I bet you it is. I bet you it is a single.
Yeah,
Since it's on that Juno was a pretty popular movie.
yeah,
They have to have
It's
a
probably on the soundtrack, I would assume.
yeah.
think-
Probably.
Mhm.
You know, what do you think? Being a part of Happy Days, what do you think of that Weezer Buddy Holly video? Ain't that one of the best videos ever made? The music video.
Which one? I'm
Oh,
sorry.
Weezer.
I don't think I saw it.
Oh, they're a band from the '90s. They did it. They're like newer age California, almost surf rock, and they had a big hit called Buddy Holly. Ooh, we look just like Buddy Holly. All right, I'm not going to embarrass myself, but their whole video, it's like that they're like this weird a band that performs like on Happy Days, so to speak. So like they're playing at like the Hangout, and then all the characters are in it. There's certain music videos I remember seeing as a kid that I just love forever, and that's one of them. But that was a real deep dive. My apology.
I think, yeah, I think I missed that, but I'll look for
It's
it.
good. It's a good one.
Yeah, I love those people on Happy Days. I'm really good friends with Gary Marshall's. I was friends with Penny Marshall and Gary, and more so their other sister, who wasn't famous but a producer named Ronnie Marshall Hallen, and it's just a great family, a very talented family. I ended up last night watching a rerun of Laverne and Shirley because I was waiting for a phone call and I didn't want to get into anything that was too intense. And so I was watching Laverne and Shirley, and I was stunned at how well it holds up. You know, that show really holds up. And Penny and Cindy Williams were both much more talented than I remember them to be.
Yeah.
They really could. Penny's expressions, the way she could land that joke, it was well cast. You know, I used to be a little sad I wasn't on it, but you know, I missed that one, but they did a great job.
Three's Company, big fan, big fan. I know you had some time on the Three's Company deal. You know, there was 3 pilots made. You were in one of the 3 pilots. You know what I mean?
Right.
But the real question is like John Ritter. My goodness, what was John? Me and my friend over here is a little quiet, but we're both gigantic John Ritter fans, and my goodness, the physical comedy of John Ritter is incredible. And just like I think with our generation, he was like and Problem Child was huge. You know what I mean? Just so many great. You Stay Tuned. But how is John Ritter? He's of course he's probably as great as we assume him to be, right?
Well, I didn't get to know him too well on the set because I replaced another girl.
Yeah.
And I only had like 4 days to learn the whole part. So there was not a lot of chit-chatting going on the set. I was cramming lines and learning blocking. And it was done. We did that pilot in front of a live audience. I had just gotten back from the desert, from The Hills Have Eyes. And I was at the grocery store and my agent called me. We didn't have cell phones then. And over the loudspeaker, Susan Lanier, please come to the office. And my agent said, get over to ABC. They're replacing a girl on a pilot called Three's Company. You're going to test for it. And so I ran over there and I said, I have sand in my hair. You know, I look awful. They said they gave me a shower, washed my hair, put on my makeup, put on clothes, whatever. And I tested. Then they had to fly it in a private airplane to New York for Freddie Silverman to see it. You couldn't zap it through the internet.
Yeah.
And then I got the phone call the next morning that I had been cast. So I had lost a lot of rehearsal time. And so I didn't get to know him too well. What is ironic is that his wife at the time, who did come to this set, Nancy Morgan Ritter, Nancy and I are still friends to this day. I'm friends with all of his children.
Yeah.
And I just talked to Nancy like 3 days ago. So, I love the family.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of respect for John. He was not how I was much more known than John when we did Three's Company. He had done a couple of things, but he didn't have a lot of notoriety. And I was off Welcome Back, Kotter. And so the audience knew who I was. And so um, uh, there was a little friction about that. There was a little discomfort about that. And that might have had something to do with why I didn't keep on with the show. And because they fired a girl that was already in rehearsal. My agent asked for maybe too much money. So, it's Hollywood. You'll hear these stories all the time. And my story is not unique.
Right. So you ran over from the set of The Hills Have Eyes?
No, I had just finished shooting a retake in the Hills Have Eyes in the desert.
Yeah.
We shot at Victorville, California. And so I hadn't been home in a while. And so I still had sand in my hair when I was at the grocery store trying to pick up some groceries before I go home. And then it was like, no, I had to leave the basket of groceries and go to ABC. Mm-hmm.
No, that movie is incredible. It's an incredible masterpiece of a horror film. The young Wes Craven, that and his previous film before that, Last House on the Left, both of those movies are like the height of psychological horror. You watch them and you're just like horrified. Love them.
I think they do still hold up.
Oh,
I think The Hills Have Eyes does at any rate. And I'm biased, I'm sure, but me and my husband at the time, he's now passed away, but we went to the premiere of the remake, and I'm still friends with Peter Locke, who produced it. Peter Locke had a birthday party a few months ago, and I was there, and we had such a wonderful visit. But I didn't feel that the remake was as raw and honest as the original, but I'm biased.
I agree. I like the original more. I don't hate on the reboot's pretty good, I think, for as far as reboots we were getting at the time, for sure.
Yeah.
The original all day long, for sure. Now, coming into that, do you remember meeting Wes for the first time? Did he have have buzz from Last House, or was it still kind of like, pretty much, just Wes? You know what I mean?
He was shy.
Yeah.
And sort of intimidated by the fact that I was kind of known at the time, are doing a lot of work at the time, and the casting director had pitched me Carol Propp and Gus Shermer. And so it was never really an audition. It was more like a meeting and a little bit of improv, I guess, with Wes. And I pretty much was offered the role there. He was very shy and quiet, but knew what he wanted, and one of my favorite directors ever. He was so wonderful to work with. I never heard him raise his voice. I've worked with directors that are really frightening because they'll scream on the set and whatever. Wes was always a gentleman. He was so sweet. And yet got exactly what he wanted. People wanted to work hard for Wes, and our conditions were not exactly fabulous. It wasn't first class by any means. I mean, we had these primitive trailers out in the desert, and all they had out there were like Motel 6 or whatever, maybe La Quinta or something, and so it was but it was so much fun. I wouldn't trade it for $1 million.
And it gets really cold in the desert. People don't think it does because it's so hot during the day. But once the sun goes down, it gets pretty chilly out there.
Yeah. It's cold in LA right now, but
Yeah.
and people don't think of LA as being cold, but it's pretty cold. Yeah, the desert was freezing, and then in the daytime it was hot. Whatever month, I can't remember the months we shot it now. Maybe it might have been February, March, somewhere in there, but it wasn't horrible, but it was and the desert's not too hot in certain months,
Yeah.
not in Victorville.
I know you became very friendly with Michael Berryman. Of course, you guys
Yeah.
are very close to the movie. Very intense scenes with you guys in the movie, of course. That brings people together, I think, closer when the two performers have to get kind of in the nitty gritty like that. You know what I mean?
Yes, I love Michael Berryman. I mean, I haven't talked to him in a while, and I miss him. I needed to call him and check up on him. He's moved a couple of times. He was living right around the corner from me, and we saw each other for the holidays. We'd hang out for the holidays and everything. And then he moved to Florida, and that got too hot. And I think he might be in Michigan. I'm not sure. He may be near you. And you're in Massachusetts, but Michigan. And I think he moved to Michigan, but I have to check.
Yeah.
But I don't see him like we did when he was my neighbor. Dee Wallace is my neighbor, and I talked to Janice today. So
Hell yeah. The movie is so like it goes to the heights of like intensity and like insanity in certain moments. It's like because Wes went to school, I think, to be like a psychology teacher or something like that. So like he knew, like he tapped right into that your loved one getting hurt type deal heavily. And did you have any reservations or anything when you first read the script? It's fun that I've always heard he's a shy guy and these crazy things come from his mind. But did you ever have any reservations when you read the script?
Back then, I hate to admit this.
Yeah.
Then you get a script and you go, "Where's Brenda?" And
Yeah.
and you might overlook a few things like some
Right.
of the action that they have written down. I certainly did that back then. Now I pay a lot more attention
Yeah.
to the action of the film, but doing the dad, burning the dad up was
Yeah.
a little disturbing. And then but this movie really did allow me to be kind of funny and very dramatic. Let it all hang out in terms of the emotional range Brenda could be, and so I just treasured the opportunity to be able to do my craft. I had studied in New York, and I finally had a vehicle that nobody knew it would be successful. I mean, I just thought it was going to be some, it'd be put in the can and that'd be it,
Yeah.
But then it turned out to be what it ended up being, and was life-changing for me because I met my husband through it. It was really life-changing, not just another movie. I've done a lot of movies, and it wasn't just another movie I did. It was a life-changing movie.
I like aliens and stuff too. So Area 51, I was a fan of as well. Good flick. With Oren, director, he's a new age master of horror in his own right. Would say over here, the creator of Paranormal Activity films. You know what I mean?
That was a very strange audition. They called me in, and he was behind the computer screen, so I couldn't. He had the computer here, and he was sunk down in the chair, so I couldn't see his face. And there was a casting director and somebody else in the room, and I thought it was just going to be a meeting, and I didn't know it. I'd not seen Paranormal Activity. I didn't know anything about it. And then I heard this little voice behind the computer. He never showed his face. And he said, okay, your daughter's been kidnapped by aliens and you're trying to find her. Action. And I went, whoa, okay. all right, this is a challenge. And I laid it on, I mean, I laid on the drama.
Yeah.
And then he said, okay, wait. And then the casting director said, and then he whispered behind the computer to the casting director. She said, okay, wait right here. And then he brought in my daughter and had us do it together. And that was another one. I think I got it right there. I think he just said, okay, you'll go to Utah. But we shot it in Utah, Salt Lake City. And it was so strange. He's such a nice guy, but very private.
Yeah.
And when we were in the hotel, he wouldn't let any actors be near anybody else's room. So we were taken to the set privately. We couldn't ride with other actors. We couldn't we're not allowed to talk to other actors, even my daughter. I mean, we weren't allowed to commingle at all. And I don't know what his reasoning for that was, but it was very unusual for me. I hadn't worked that way before. I know he moved. Maybe he did so well with everything else, he decided to leave the country. I think he went to New Zealand or something, but he may be back. So
He likes distance. He likes distance. That's what it is.
yeah, he does. He's a very artistic guy. I really like him a lot.
I like him too. I wonder what his method was for that, because as a director, myself, yourself too, it's like you'd want the cast to kind of build a relationship so it'd be more believable in front of the camera. You know what I mean?
We weren't even allowed to speak with each other.
Man.
It was the strangest thing.
Yeah.
I mean, after I was finished, I think I became Facebook friends with Jennifer, but the daughter, but I don't know anybody from that set except Oren. He's the only one.
Well, like I said, you're a director as well. Watch what you ask for. How did you like getting into the director's chair? First time director on that, right?
I love directing.
Yeah.
I would if I could just stop everything and just direct, I would. Yeah.
It is fun.
I love directing. And I'm also for many years between acting jobs or whatever, you don't act all the time. People might think you go from show to show to show. Well, you do that when you're young. When you're older, the roles, particularly being a woman, the roles are fewer and further apart. And I became a photographer, which I'd always had a passion for. Yeah. And I became a fashion photographer as well. So I shot for Neiman Marcus. I shot in Paris, New York, London, models. So I know light and I composition. You have to know all these things just to be a still photographer. Yeah. And that carries over into cinematic photography. Actually, it's harder than a film camera, but I think I think I have an eye for how to put the scene together. I haven't had an opportunity, or I haven't created the opportunity to do real legit, full length things. I would love to do a full length movie.
Is that on the right? Is that you want to move forward to that? Like, you got anything writing? You writing anything, or what do you think?
I'm writing. I'm writing. I know I won't be able to direct it because I'm in. It's being made. Decisions are being made about the project I'm writing by very high-powered people in LA, and if it goes, they would never let me direct it. I'm not experienced enough. So I'm sure that I do know of a director that won an award recently that is interested in it. So we'll see what happens with that. I have to finish it. I'm a procrastinator. That is my downfall.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah.
That's I think creative types are a bit of have a kind of the procrastinating gene in us all.
Yeah. It's a definite character flaw. and I have to, I really have to talk to myself and try to break that. And a lot of writers, I've talked to many writer friends, and they do have to force themselves to sit down and write.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about solitary. It's
Actually, it's funny. I started writing a book recently. Actually, I started at the beginning of this year because I have like so many stories I've started but never finished, and I kind of made a New Year resolution that I was going to finally create, a book by the end of the year. So every day I write a little bit more and more, and we'll see if it works out. I don't know. I mean, this is an experiment to see if I can actually finally finish one writing project.
all these successful writers I know, I don't know if this might help you. They get up around 4 or 5, and that's when they start. I was very good friends with the Academy Award-winning writer Edward Anhalt, who wrote the screenplay, won the Academy Award for Beckett and Panic in the Streets. And his whole thing was to get up very early, like, and all my writer friends that are successful, they start around 5 and they stop around noon or 1. They stop around 1. And then they go have cocktails and lunch and then go play tennis and then have dinner or go to a Hollywood party, and then they get back up at 5 and write. So that the day that you're not going to really be interrupted that much is spent doing that. I'm a night crawler. I'm a nightclub girl. I hate getting up early, but so I think that's it doesn't help me, my writing, because I do like to get up late.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah, unfortunately, in my case, I got a regular 9 to 5 job, so I wake up at 5 and I work till 3:30, and then my writing's from like 4 till like 6. So that's what I try to do.
But that's great. I mean, that's great. It doesn't really matter when you do it, as long as you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just had a knee surgery and I just got back from the gym because I'm doing PT to try to get it back in shape. It was just 7 weeks ago or something. And so I it was from literally an old skiing injury, and I kept putting off having work done on it for years. And then I finally had to bite the bullet. And I thought, oh, good, I'll be able to recuperate in bed with this knee, and I'll finish my book, I'll finish the script. Did I do that? No. I go, oh no, and the knee was killing me, and then at first you take your pain medication, and then so so I did not write a word during my recuperation. So I'm kind of back on track now. I just swam this morning. So
You got to schedule it in too. It's like people don't like to do it, but you have to work it into the schedule. Can't just like, oh, well, I guess when it hits me to do it, because it's never going to hit you. You just got to kind of sit down. And if you stare at a blank screen for 45 minutes before you start typing or whatever, that's just the way it's got to be. But you got to.
absolutely right.
Yeah.
The other thing that helps is I'm in a writing group.
Yeah.
And if you have a little group, even if it's just friends, and whether they can write well or not, if you have to be accountable.
Yeah.
And they pressure you to produce if you're in this group, and I'm very grateful for that.
Well, Susan, this was fantastic. We usually close out with one last question. And that question is, we get a lot of filmmakers, musicians, writers, stand-ups, whatever you want to call it, creatives. We have creatives that listen. And we like to get a little advice, like if for people out there that find themselves in a slump or things just don't feel to be looking good, do you have any words of wisdom or advice for those people to kind of keep their morale up and keep going?
Yeah, I do. I think you're blessed if you discover what you want to do and what you're passionate about. A lot of people go through life and they never discover their passion. So if you have that passion, you're very lucky to begin with. That's the first step. And then the second step is you have to work your ass off. You have to work, work, work. Acting is hard. It is not easy. Music is hard. It's not easy. Writing, directing, whatever you're doing, none of it's easy. It's made to look easy. So you're so blessed if you recognize your passion and you really want it a lot. You want it enough to be able to motivate yourself to put the work in on it, because it's work.
Yeah.
And dreams do come true.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah. Very inspirational. I like it. I like it. You know.
Good.
Susan, this was a lot of fun. We thank you very much. We'd love to have you back on again sometime.
Definitely.
You know, I know you're staying active and you do so many cool things. You know, when it doesn't, you know, we're always here. Like, come on down. You know what I mean?
I'd like to come back. I love
Hell
it.
yeah. Hell yeah.
A lot of fun. Got a indie movie? Let me know. Give me a call.
Heck yeah. We're all about it. Hell yeah.
I love Massachusetts.
We love you back.
Even the cold?
Yeah. It's really
Even the
cold.
cold.
Uh
I miss New York. I do. Not the 18 degrees.
I was gonna say the weather. Yeah.
Yeah, not the 18 degrees, but I do miss New York. Sometimes I think about going back. I'm kind of looking at trying to get a place where I can live both places. So I love California too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that it's the jumping back and forth would be the ideal thing. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
That's all I want to do is just go back and forth. I don't care about going anywhere else, just
Yeah.
New York, LA,
There's that's all you need.
yeah.
Just the sides, but you got the whole inside of America. It's beautiful.
It is.
But it's the hubs. Yeah, those are the hubs. You know.
all
Yeah.
the good stuff happens there.
Well, I hope to see you again. And thank you so much for having me on. Fans, friends can find me on Facebook.
Yes.
Susan Lanier or Susan Lanier Bramlett, either one. They both work. They're connected. I do music, for the music. I do the other one. Anyway, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, though I'm not active. I'll get more active.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody go out there and check out Susan's stuff and support her, and
Definitely.
Some tunes on iTunes too,
join the acting class as well. There's no better. Yeah.
DM me if you're interested in hearing more about the acting class. I'll tell you all about it.
Nothing's more valuable than experience. You know what I mean? And you got it here, and you have an opportunity. Get in there and learn firsthand. And acting, it's a creative art form, so there's so many different approaches and takes on it. It's good to kind of consume everything you can. You know what I mean?
I even tell my own students, study with everybody, and if that person's not for you, move on, because the more knowledge you have, the better you get.
Yeah.
I still work with a voice coach, so I'm looking into a class this weekend. So I don't just teach, I study too at my age. So
you never stop learning,
right?
It's a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. All right, Susan, thank you very much.
Thanks, baby.
Rock on. Have a good night over there. Talk soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, that was the great Susan Lanier. And it was an absolute pleasure to have her on the show. Brenda from The Hills Have Eyes, as far back as I can remember, The Hills Have Eyes has always been right up there with one of my favorite horror films. Wes Craven is just like a king amongst men. Rest in peace. Those first three films of Wes Craven, you got Last House on the Left, The Hills Have Eyes, and A Nightmare on Elm Street. I don't know if there's ever been 3 consecutive films like that released of devastation. You know what I mean? people like to say with West, they'll go, oh yeah, I guess around the 30th year that he was killing it, he started to lose it. You know what I mean? It's like, my God, don't be so hard on the dude. He recreated horror literally multiple times. And those first 3 films show me another filmmaker with consistency right there that have 3 banga-rangas consecutive like that for sure. Rest in peace, Wes. Insomniac, dedicated to Wes Craven. It's a beautiful thing, written and directed by myself. Alexander Hart co-starred in that thing. It was a beautiful thing. I remember I was in Aliens with Jertai and D Mall, and I got a text on my phone, and I looked at that text, and it said, it was a maggot sent it to me. He said, Wes Craven passed away. And I looked up, and as my brain comprehended, I'm getting emotional. As my brain comprehended what I just read on the phone, the dude next to me yells at me for looking at my cell phone before a movie starts. Out of control. But that's what you get at the Brattle Theater, and I think it's Cambridge. No. Where are they? They're not. They're Somerville, I think. We'll see. I can't blame the theater for some of their patrons. And join our Patreon at BoomBastic Streaming for sure. But having Susan on the show was great. It's cool. The Three's company ties, of course. We get, we love television just as much as we love movies. You know what I mean? Happy Days, yours and mine. You know what I mean? Hey. I didn't want to break the stride, but I did. I had the opportunity to. I worked with Henry Winkler myself. I can attest. Henry Winkler is a very cool man. Very nice dude. Me and my brother did background. I'm getting emotional again because whenever we talk about the Fonz, but me and my brother, it's really hard on me, Alex. Clear my fucking throat. My God. This is hard shit. I didn't know it was going to be this difficult, man. I promised I wouldn't do this. But anyways, we did Here Comes the Boom. We stole the show from Kevin James. He was crying in his trailer because we were so fucking handsome, and he was like dog shit, and he was like so disappointed. But we talked to the Fonz, and the Fonz was one of the coolest people ever of all time. My brother and him chopped it up for like 15 minutes, and I was so jealous. It might be the only time in my life I was ever jealous of the Bohemian. I said, that motherfucker and the Fonz are like best friends right now. What the fuck is going on? And then Kevin James pulled me aside and said, Matt, you're too fucking handsome. I'm moving you to the back. True story. And he moved me to the back. But forget about Kevin James, and Here Comes the Boom. Susan Lanier was just on the BoomBastiCAST, and hope she'll be back on again. I think we'll have her back on again. It was a lot of fun. What do you think before we wrap it up, Bubba?
I had a lot of fun. It was great talking to her about theater, about acting in general.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great talking to people that have been in the industry, that have been in things that we appreciate, and also getting pointers on the craft itself. And she's right, especially us creatives. The way we create is we bounce off other people. So I mean, if you have a creative impulse, whether it's singing, whether it's acting, whether it's painting, find friends with like minds. I mean, bring them together, have them help you with your watercolors or the pastels or whatever you do. I mean, the fact is, I think, especially with the everyone pushing the whole AI thing, that I really think that the creative passion
Yeah.
is needs to be stoked more, because you're not going to get a creative piece of art from a computer generated program. You'll get something that might look okay, but it's not going to have any heart. It's not going to give you any real feeling. I mean, you're not going to get Hills Have Eyes unless you got Wes Craven. And
You're
it
gonna
does.
get like the Hills Have Eyes Part 2, dude, if you go act like that.
But yeah, I mean, it was great talking to her, and I can't wait to have her back on the show.
Out of respect to my boy Wes Craven, I can't bring up the Hills Have Eyes Part 2. But that first one is fucking an incredible horror movie. Amazing. Part 2 was a little weird. I'd love to know the story of why it's weird. Maybe it's he didn't fucking maybe so he didn't want to direct it. I don't know what the story was. But forget about all that stuff. We'll have Wes on in the afterlife. We'll have him on to do.
We'll bring in the Ouija board.
That's very disrespectful. I'm ashamed of what I said. You made it even worse. All right. So unfortunately, it is what it is. But the multi-talented, the wonderful, the beautiful Susan Lanier. Thanks again for being on the BoomBastiCAST. We hope you all out there enjoyed this episode. Hit us on the freebie stuff, which we know you love. We know you love them freebie episodes. Catch them on the tube for free. You like that, right? Yeah, you fucking like that, don't you? You don't want to take a little walk over to the Patreon world, huh? Take a little walk down Patreon Ave. Look for that Boombastic streaming. Get yourself done up nicely. Change your life for the better. You know what I mean? Hit that Patreon. Let us know you care. And if you're going to keep popping in for free, at least hit that subscribe button on the YouTube page. Leave a comment. Give us a like. Make us be happy. You know what I mean? Happiness is key. Happiness is key. And that'll be it, I think, right? You got anything to say in closing? You wrapped up too, Bubby?
I'm all set. I think I said pretty much everything that needs to be said. I mean, it was a great interview, and she's a great person with a lot of insight.
Indeed. Mucho gracias. You need that Mikey Bone Road shirt. Sponsor. Everybody go check out Mikey Bone Road art. Dude's devastating. His hills have eyes. And we'll catch y'all on the next episode of the BoomBastiCAST.
Peace.
Peace.